In module 1, it is the basics of computer science, not computer science, basics of computer, the hardware, the software, then the different types of programming languages, then the compiler, interpreter, etc., etc. So in the syllabus for the first module, it is like this, the basics of computer hardware and software. And obviously those who know all these things, it will be a bit boring, but obviously I have to go through, or we have to go through all these things, because there will be students who doesn't know these things, or those who doesn't remember these things. So for those who feel it is boring, please bear with us. There is no other option, and obviously take this opportunity as a refreshing opportunity, refreshing the knowledge that you already have. And so the syllabus goes like this: the basics of computer hardware and software, then the basics of computer architecture, the only one architecture we are studying, the basic architecture. Then the processor, memory, input and output devices, etc. What are the different input and output devices, etc. Then the next part is application software and system software. What is an application software and what is a system software? Then we move to this compilers, interpreters, and what are these high level and low level languages. Then finally in this module, the last part of this module is we are delving into some part of programming, or the basics of programming aspects. Introduction to structured approach to programming, how a program is to be written, and what are the necessities that is required before doing a program. Then flowchart, algorithms, pseudocode. Actually, this flowchart, algorithms, pseudocode, etc. are the different variants of the same thing. Then the flowchart, algorithms, and pseudocode of two different algorithms. That is bubble sort and linear search. So this is within the first module. So let's start with the basics of computer hardware and software. So how will you define a computer, or what is a computer, or what is the use of a computer? When we describe something about computer, we know what is a computer. When it is in our home, it is in our hand, etc., etc. We know what is a computer, but how to describe it? So a computer is a device which is capable of performing computations and making logical decisions. This is the one of the basic definitions. It is a device. It is an electronic device. Actually, the computer is an electronic device which is capable of performing computations and making logical decisions. It is an electronic nowadays it is an electronic devices, but in olden days it was a computer was not an electronic device. It had the basics. The first versions of computer had was not electronic devices, or what you say, the abacus. The abacus is considered to be the first computer. So it is not an electronic device. So when the electronics part came into the computers, or the electronic components was used to make computers, the computer became very cheap and computationally more efficient and more powerful also. That's it. So then it processes, the computers processes data under the control of sets of instructions called computer programs. So computer programs are nothing but they are a set of instructions. That is, suppose you have normally use this PowerPoint program, presentation maker program. PowerPoint is a presentation maker program, and in this case, what you does is you are giving instructions. You are giving instructions to the computer using this computer programs. So actually, in computer program, what it happens is when you click on a particular icon, there are some instructions that is built on behind this particular icon. That is, it is inbuilt to that particular program. So that instructions are carried out when you click, or when you give a specific command, when you type in a specific command, that particular instructions are carried out. So The computer programs are actually instructions, the set of instructions. And this set of instructions control the computers, and the computers process data. The data can be numerical values, it can be literal values, that is the numerical values 1, 2, 3, etc. The numbers, or it can be the literary values like ABCD, or the character values ABCD, etc. Or it can be even photos or videos, whatever it is, whatever which can be fed as binary data into the computer, that is considered as data. So then the computers can be of different types. You might be knowing it. That is, one is a personal computer. Personal computer is which is economically enough for an individual. A person uses it, an individual uses. The computers that is in our home, that is the desktop computers or the laptop computers, these are the personal computers. That is the PCs, commonly known as the PCs, the personal computers. The laptops, the desktops that is available, etc., are the PCs, the personal computers. They are economically not that much pricey. It doesn't have huge price, so that an individual cannot afford it. But it is a low-cost machine. Low cost in the sense that an individual can afford to buy anything, buy a new or buy an old, new or old personal computer. That is the case. Then the second method of computing is distributed computing. That is, personal computing is or the personal computers are used for computing or do computations within a specific room or within a locality, within a specific location. That is, only a single system is used, or a single system of a computer system is used for doing the computation. But in distributed computing, that is, the computational work is distributed across over the networks. That is, you might know that the internet is connected to almost all the computers. Here also, there are 61 students and one faculty in this particular classroom, in this Google Meet that is happening, and all of us are connected to the network. All of our computers are connected together to a single entity known as the internet. So distributed computing is we are using the computational powers of different computational systems that is spread over the internet. So that is distributed computing. Then there is client-server computing. That is sharing of information across computer networks between file servers and clients. That is, one computer will act as a server. A server means which all other computers can connect to this particular server. So that is, the personal computers may not be connected to each other, but the personal computers or the client computers may not be connected to each other, but the clients will be connected to a single system, another single system that is known as the server. So that is the client server computing. That is, the client systems, or the client systems are mostly the personal computers itself. The personal computers acts as clients. So like when you are connected to the internet, actually I don't have any access to your system. I cannot access your system. When I can access your system, that is distributed computing. But when you are connected to a server, and I am also connected to that particular server. In this case, we are connected to the server of Google. So that is a client server computing. In this case, in this particular conditions, we all are clients. You 61 students are clients, and me faculty is also a client. Even though I am delivering the lecture, you are listening to it. There is no difference for the server that I am something different than you. So that is a client server computing. The server is the one that receives the data from all the clients and send data to all the clients. So in between the clients, there won't be any data transfer. But in distributed computing, there is no specific server will be acting. In some distributed computing machines, there will be a server acting, but all the machines will be connected to each other. So that is the different types of computing or computations. That is personal computers, distributed computing, and client and server computing. So the term computer is derived from the word compute, and the meaning of the word compute is to calculate, that you might be knowing. That is, the word compute means to calculate. So when a computer is completely defined, one of the definitions, I am not saying this, that this is the only definition that is available for a computer, but one of the definitions is a computer is an electronic machine that accepts data from the user, processes the data by performing calculations and operations on it, and generates the desired output results. So this is the computer, that is an electronic machine, which does three different things. There are three different things that is happening inside a computer. It accepts data from the user. It processes the data by performing calculations and operations on the data. So that is processing. That is, input is there. That is, the accepting data from the user is there. Then it is performing calculations on it. And then finally, it generates some desired output results. So the three functions of a computer are input, processing, and output. So inputting the data or receiving the data, then processing the data, and generating the output of the data. So that is, or the output of the results of the calculations and operations that is carried out within the computer. So that is the three operations or the three functions of a computer. So this is a typical basic typical computer system along with some printer, speaker, etc. is happening. So these are the basic parts of a computer. In this case, all the three things, that is the input devices are there, the output devices are there, and the processing the device is also there. The speakers, the keyboard, the mouse, etc. are the main input devices that is that we are using in almost all the systems, all the computers. There should be a keyboard and there should be a mouse. So these things, the keyboard and mouse, are the basic input devices. Then obviously there are other input devices also, the scanner, the mic, or the camera, etc. are the input devices. Then this processing device is mostly in a computer. The processing device is this thing, this CPU. That is the central processing unit. That is the box associated with your computer system. That is the central processing unit. That is the processing unit of the computer. It is also known as the brain of the computer. It is where all the calculations, etc. are carried out. But in the case of a laptop, it is not present. Then where is it? Can anybody answer it? In the case of a laptop, where this CPU is situated? In that case, there are two parts in a laptop mostly. That is, one is screen, which is vertical, and there is a horizontal part when it is opened. When it is opened, there is a horizontal part on which the keyboard as well as mouse is present. That is the input devices. Then there is a vertical part, that is the screen, where we where we see all those things. That is the output device, that is a screen, the monitor, that is also there. Then where is the CPU located in the case of laptop? Anybody?
Motherboard.
It's motherboard. Where it is located? Motherboard is a part of CPU. In the case of a desktop, that is in desktop PC, it is a separate box. The motherboard, the processor, etc., etc., the RAM, etc., the storage devices, etc., are in a separate box. But in the case of a laptop, where it is located?
Keyboard.
It is below the keyboard, not keyboard. It is below the keyboard and the mouse pad. Everything is included. That is the motherboard, the processor, the RAM, etc., the storage devices, that is the storage disks, etc., are placed below the keyboard in the case of a laptop. So we have seen the input devices, that is keyboard, mouse, the mic, the scanner, the camera, etc., the input devices. Then the processing device is the CPU, and whatever is inside the CPU, that we will see later. And then the output device is either it can be a monitor, it can be a printer, even speaker. It is an output device because the computer outputs voice signals through the speakers. So speaker is also an output device. So these are the three different the three different operations that is happening in a computer's input, output, and processing, or input, processing, and output. And the three different types of devices that is associated with a computer are input devices, then the processing devices, and the third one is the output devices. So then, what is a computer? Again, we are asking, a computer, is it only this hardware? So we said computer is these three types of devices: input device, output device, and a processing device. So these are all collectively known as the computer hardware. That is various devices of a hardware. A physically visible part is the hardware. So that is the computer hardware. So if you see this here, if you see this picture on the right bottom, so hardware is one part of the computer, and the other part of the computer is the software part. So then the various devices of comprising this computer, that is the hardware part is keyboard, screen, mouse, disk, memory, CD-ROM, speaker, mic, printer, whatever it is. Everything is included in the computer hardware. Then actually there is a law. There is a Moore's law known as the Moore's law. Depending on the hardware trends, that is every year or two the following approximately double, that is the size of these things. Every 1 year or 2 years it approximately doubles, that is amount of memory in which to execute the programs, that is the RAM, random access memory. Then the amount of secondary storage device, such as the disk storage, that is the disks, the hard disk, the capacity of the hard disk, every 1 year or 2 years it almost doubles. And the secondary storage devices are used to hold the programs and data over. Then the processor speed, the speed of the processor, that also doubles the speed at which computers execute their program. So that is the condition. That is the hardware trend is that every year or two, that is every 1 year or 2 years, these things doubles. That is the Moore's law. This is true if you purchase a computer today, and after 1 year, if you look into the specifications of your computer, you will feel that it is obsolete. That is new systems are in the market with high specifications and high capacity, almost with the same price itself. So that is the case with the computer hardware. So now this is the main computer hardware parts, that is inside, what are inside the CPU. Whatever is inside the box that is given here, it will be having a power supply, it will be having a graphics, sound, and network cards. You might have heard of all these things. Then there will be USB connectors, the RAM, the random access memory will be there, Then the CPU. The CPU is actually only a single IC, that is only a single integrated circuit chip, that is an electronic chip, a small electronic chip, that is the CPU, the central processing unit or the processor. Actually, it is not CPU, it is the processor. The processor is only a single, IC. Then there will be a motherboard. A motherboard will be nothing but a PCB, a circuit board, a programmable circuit board in which a printed circuit board, sorry, not programmable, it is a printed circuit board in which all the items are soldered into this one. So then there will be a heat sink assembly. The heat sink is when computer is working, too much amount of heat will be generated. If you place your hand behind the computer when it is working or when it is playing a movie or something like that, you might feel the heat that is being discarded from the CPU. So it need a heat sink assembly also. Then there will be audio connectors, front USB, etc., etc., and everything that is external to this CPU. This term is here. There is a CPU written. Actually, it is not CPU. It should be processor. And everything external to this particular box is known as the peripherals. That is the screen, that is the monitor, the computer, the printer, the mouse, then the keyboard, etc., are known as the computer peripherals. Then there will be another peripherals like modem, router, etc. The modem and router are used, you might be knowing, that is they are used to connect it to the internet. So then, as we said, as we discussed till now, the computer is there. But initially we said that a set of instructions, it needs a set of instructions known as the computer program. So whatever we have discussed till now are about the computer hardwares, only about the computer hardware. But without the computer software, that is the programs, without the software, the programs, a computer hardware is useless. It is like a stone. We cannot do anything with it. We can either screw it up or unscrew all those things. That is the only thing that we can do. It is like a stone, which doesn't have any other purpose other than it can be used to throw at things, or it can be used to place things. So the programs or the set of instructions are known as the computer software. It is collectively known as the computer software. So see, in this case, see, there is a hardware. Then within this box, it is known as an OS, that is an operating system. Operating system is a type of computer software. Then there will be an application software, which is not built into this operating system, or in some application softwares are built into this operating system. There are different classifications of this computer software also, out of which we have to see only a few classifications we need to know. So computer programs are that run on a computer, including the operating system. Then can you give an example of an operating system? Most of you are familiar to computers. So even though you might not have, which is it?
Windows.
Linux. Windows is an operating system. Linux is there. Then Mac is there. Ubuntu is also there. So it is Ubuntu and are versions of Linux, but they are separate operating systems. So that is, the operating systems is a type of computer hardware which is required to work, or which is required to make the computer work. Then there is another type of software, that is application software. Application software are specific softwares. Operating systems are general softwares which is required to make your system work. Then application softwares are specific softwares, that is specific softwares in the sense that it is they are used, or the application softwares are used for specific purposes, like word editing software. Sorry, the Microsoft Word, that is an application software that is used only for creating documents. Then Microsoft PowerPoint, that is another application software which is used to create presentations. So the application softwares, any games, whichever games you used to play, they are application softwares. It is for specific purposes. Then there is Windows Excel is there, then that is Microsoft Excel is there, Adobe Photoshop is there, etc., etc. There are so many application softwares are there. The most popular operating systems are, as we said, it is Windows and Linux. They are limited. The operating systems are limited. But the application softwares are maybe uncountable. There are so many of them. Then there will be a computer language. A computer language is nothing but actually it is a program, or it is a software which is used to create all these operating system or the application software. You cannot create an application software or an operating system without anything else. So for that one, the specific softwares that is required to create this operating system and application softwares are the computer language. And our C belongs to this computer language.